Hello everyone, welcome to day 11 of my 25 days of raising awareness of mental health issues and well-being. I want to include that as well. So, was sort of fishing around, really thinking, what can I talk about today? And I thought, well, I've mentioned that I've read quite a few books, and I'll start off talking about books. Some of the books that I've got there. I've put pictures up onto the Facebook page there, of some of the books I've got to hand. And I suppose the overarching thing is that there's lots of personal development books out there. It depends on which way you want to go. I suppose the thing is to start. Okay, start picking up books. Find a book. Start with one book that seems interesting storyline. You can research lots of books online just to sort of see whether you can understand it. Is it going to be useful to you, etc. The other good thing is you can probably download them onto Kindle. Okay, not a big fan of Kindle. I prefer paper books for some reason. Just the way I am, I suppose. I feel like I like the physical presence of a paper book, and I think second-hand books actually have a feeling about them. They've got energy. Yeah, other people have read them, other people have passed them on. I've got a huge amount of other books, and I suppose some of the things that have happened to me have been through the fact that I've read a book and then I've normally passed it on to somebody else. So a lot of the time I would read quite a few books, and then I'd have the book with me, or I'd sort of have the book and I've read it, and then something would happen, or I'd meet somebody, or there was an event that I went to that somebody resonated, saying something about something I'd read in the book. And I went, oh, have you read such and such book? Oh, okay. And I'd end up passing on lots of books. So a lot of the books that I've read, I don't have. Some of the books that I've kept hold of there have obviously, meant something to me, and have got something in there that I've read. But a couple of other authors, three authors I'm going to mention now that have had a lot of books. Paulo Coelho, he's Brazilian. Loads of books. One of his most famous books was called The Alchemist. I don't have a copy of that. And that is a really quite profound book to read. Not a huge book, probably about this sort of size, paperback size. I've got another Paulo Coelho book here, The Fifth Mountain. Fantastic way of writing, sort of has a storyline, etc. But there's lots of little analogies, and normally with the sort of the storylines, you'll get to the end of a chapter, and then there'll be maybe one or two lines that actually captures the whole of that chapter in a little one-liner. And what I used to do, I used to start with the books I was reading, and then whenever something resonated with me, I start to write them down. Or I would start to write down my feelings around what I just read, or I'd get to the end of a chapter. Yeah, okay. So if you've got other books that you've read that have profound meaning to you, yeah, put them up on the message link there so people can see them. Again, it might be the fact that somebody points you to a certain book and you go, oh, that sounds interesting. And I've not read that one myself, but I think I've heard of it. So the idea is that these books, yeah, you start to invest in time in books, and I suppose it's almost a little bit old-fashioned now, isn't it, to read books? It's almost sort of going backwards, isn't it? People don't go out to pick up books. They use their Kindles, or they download it on their phones. Now, a little theory of mine that I've had for a very long time, and it sort of is starting to pan out now. So when we read a book, and before we had the internet, before we had videos and all that sort of stuff, we would read a book. And when we read a book, okay, where does the images come from? Because we create images. The images come from our amygdala, our processing part of our brain. We create the storyline, we create the video, we create the things that are going on there. So we've got a little play going on in our head. Okay, and I come from an era when books were the only thing. You read a book and it's almost a bit of escapism, and the books became part and parcel of you, because you read them, and you sort of maybe, particularly if they were storybooks, you'd sort of live out the story. And then obviously later on, when the personal development kicked in and the storybooks had a meaning, you then started to look at the meaning for you for that story. But you would create the story in your head of that book. What's happening and what I've seen is the inability for people to actually create that story anymore. They're so fixated on getting information, video images, video games, online gaming. The internet has created so much information that is fed straight to your brain that reading a book and creating the images of yourself is almost a forgotten art. And I think we're missing the point. We're missing the point of the imagination. Because mental health is about balancing what's going on outside with what the thoughts, processes, and the brain chemistry and things going on inside. It's a balance. It's a to and fro, and sometimes you'll get overloaded with information, or you'll get overloaded with things, and you have to then process, etc. Sometimes you have to, gird your loins and steel yourself to get on with the job, etc. And that's a mental thing that you do preparations for. And I think people that have read books, or people that come from an era of books being the thing, have got that sort of process a lot more adaptable in their system. They're sort of preparing themselves because they've got that brain function inside. And I think people are going to struggle, and particularly why there is with the youngsters nowadays. And there's two things with the youngsters nowadays. One, they're more likely to tell you they've got a mental health issue for a number of reasons. A, because society tells them that they've got a mental health issue. They've got the information from the internet, and they're all experts on that. Two, they genuinely have a mental health issue because of the lifestyle that they're leading, because unfortunately, we still have kids out there that do not have a very good life. And three, because of the way that they communicate, they are much more likely to let somebody know they've got an issue. Yes, I know that still people do, take extreme action, etc. But that is where we are at the moment. What's missing is almost the mental resilience, if that's true, the mental preparedness, because they're reliant on the internet, they're reliant on their phones, they're reliant on that sort of connection, rather than creating their own world through their amygdala, creating the brain stuff, etc. So books. So there is lots of other things that you can do out there to invest in getting yourself to a point where mental health is getting better. You can go and employ a life coach. You can go and join seminars. You can get what we call the library stuff, where you can put CDs on. So your drive time university, that sort of stuff. So when you're driving in the car, you've got this stuff on and it's sinking in. And they're all useful, as books are useful. But for me, books were the key. Books were the key. Sitting quietly, reading a book for a short period of time a day was also a type of therapy. And I think by creating some time to sit and read a book, committing time as one of your goals maybe that you're going to do is to read more books, read 10 pages a day, read for 10 minutes a day, read whatever it is, committing daily is part of that process of creating time for things to calm down for you. And particularly if you have a very busy life, Okay. Creating that time for yourself, creating that space for your brain to recalibrate, maybe for things to calm down. For me, is one of those key things that helps then balance out between what's going on outside, what's going on inside. And again, we've been talking a lot about the things that are going on inside. Okay, being aware of the conversations we're having ourselves. Are we our own cheerleader? Are we in control of the information that's going in? Can we clear our minds and focus on reading a book for some part of a day, so that all of the other stuff that we've got going on in our lives is not intruding into that space, giving our brain a time to switch off and relax from the busy life. And the process of the busy lifestyle, okay, is, and statistically is, creating anxiety. And I'm going to be touching on anxiety tomorrow. So we're going to look at anxiety and maybe look at panic attacks. Not quite sure whether we're going to have time to look at it, but definitely look at anxiety tomorrow as the subject. So the anxiety that is being created in society is because we're living this fast-paced life, and we're constantly having all of these demands through, social media, people, connections, etc. And I don't know whether you've had this before or yourselves. I've had it. You send a message to somebody, and that person doesn't respond immediately, and you keep checking your phone or you keep checking your emails, and you why aren't they responding to me? I'm expecting something back. And maybe at work, somebody sends you an email and they're expecting a response straight away. And that isn't how we should be living in connection with other people. We shouldn't be responding to people's messages instantly, okay? Because if they want an instant reply, what could they do? They could pick up the phone and speak to you, okay? Which is what we used to do before we had email. So the pace of life is being imprinted on us, and I call it almost like a microwave lifestyle. You throw your meal in the microwave and then you want it ready for 2 or 3 minutes later. Your expectations of ordering something off the internet and then you want it there the next day. Okay. And we're being fed that people want response straight away, or else they're going to go somewhere else. Well, sometimes the best response is no response, because letting life find its own path, other than you responding to this ever speed of response, request, etc., can just burn you out. It starts to create this anxiety, this anxious feeling of, am I doing the right thing? Am I in the right place at the right time? Am I sending the right response to this person as quickly as possible? And the processes that I'm sort of introducing, so by reading a book, any book, okay, that has some value for you, creating the space every day to do that starts to become a habit. And we want to try and create good habits that give us the chance to, particularly if we do understand that mental health is a challenge for us at times, and there's certain things that trigger us, that challenge us, then by creating space for ourselves, for our brains to calm down, by creating time for us to focus. And I think for some, the shutdown, the lockdown, has been good. Other people have been climbing the walls because they're used to that speed of life, and without that speed of life they feel that they're missing out on something. But if you can step off that treadmill for a little while and let things slow down and calm down, create the space for your daily practice. And your daily practice can just be simply reading a book. You can create space so that you do some sort of exercise on a daily basis. It could be 10 minutes in your front room. Ruth and I are doing yoga every day at the moment. We're also doing the Joe Wicks Monday to Friday stuff, and doing them back to back is not funny, particularly when they're both on one. You can create space to do meditation. And people say, oh, well, I haven't got time to do all this stuff. Well, it's interesting because the people that have invested time, and Gandhi, fairly good guy, fairly switched on, was often, caught by his helpers, because he had lots of helpers doing different bits and pieces for him, meditating. And, they would rush and go, Master, there is so much to do today. What are we going to do? He went, I think I need to meditate for twice as long today to get all this in. So the idea is that by creating space for you to be able to function correctly, you give yourself time to get the right things going, to get your processes going, so that you're less likely to feel the anxiety, the stress, the build-up of pressure. I mean, sometimes it is needed, for deadlines and work, etc. And sometimes people thrive off that for a little while. But constant pressure, constant stress has been catalogued, and it kills people. Okay. By de-stressing, by calming things down, by being less anxious, we're more likely to enjoy the things that we do. We're more likely to create good relationships with people around us. We're more likely to take time to enjoy life, and less likely to suffer from mental health issues. So reading books is one of those things. Again, dipping into personal development is a choice. It's a commitment. If you're up to it and you're wanting to de-stress your life, then this is one way. And like I said, there's other ways to do that. Exercising, meditation, you can do videos, you can go to seminars, etc. But I find that having a practice that you do daily and creating the space and time to do that daily does create a more stable lifestyle for yourself. And with this, I suppose, I'm talking about diarising things. So getting a little paper diary so that you can fulfill the things in the diary on a daily basis. Now, you don't have to sort of schedule your whole life, but particularly if you feel that your lifestyle is overwhelmed, out of control, etc., by creating this diarised time, then you gain back some time that is yours. You might even find that if you are a person that suffers with, getting out of bed because you don't want to go to work and all that sort of stuff, and I know it's difficult at the moment, but that sort of process, by creating a diarised time which is yours, you start to get some energy for having that time, and particularly if it's early in the morning. Okay. So that's my sort of giveaway there on books and reading. Start to look at a process where you are gaining some control over your day for a short period of time so that you can then carry on doing the other stuff, but you're taking back a little bit of time just for yourself. And for some of you, that might be a challenge to actually do that. You might have been given maybe the imprint that stuff for you is being selfish. Why do you think that you should just have time just for yourself? That's just wrong. You're supposed to be there for everybody else. Well, actually, we're here just for ourselves. We may have families, we may have partners, we may have colleagues, etc., that need us to do certain stuff for them, but we've got to think of ourselves first. And the analogy is, when we're on a plane and when the oxygen masks drop down, what do they say first? You need to put the oxygen mask on yourself first before you can then help others. So you need to invest time in yourself before you can be there for others. So by being a little bit selfish in the context, taking some time for yourself, you start to be a better person to help others. Okay. If you've got any books that you want to sort of put up on the list there, please feel free to put it on the message bar there. If you've got any questions about the books that I've put pictures up, particularly it sort of intriguing, what type of books there are, yeah, by all means, just get out there, have a look. There's lots of places on the internet that you can get books delivered now. I know we're still in lockdown in Wales. It's sort of easing off a little bit, but yeah, get those books. Start investing in books. And one of the other things about books is once you start reading a book, 9 times out of 10, in the sort of the back of the front or during the text, there'll be another set of books that they'll say, oh, try this book, try that book, whatever. Because the people that have normally written these types of books have read other types of books as well. They've read other stuff. Okay, so that's my takeaway for today. So tomorrow, we're going to be talking about anxiety. Okay, we talked about depression yesterday. And for those people that messaged there, thank you. By all means, add something in there. Anxiety and depression sometimes go together, or they can be exclusive. Okay, so we'll talk about anxiety tomorrow. So I'll put that up, and we'll have a little discussion. If you want anything to me to discuss, any analogies that you want me to put in there, and you want them to be anonymous, etc., or information, just send me a personal message, and I can use that story, etc. But if nobody's got anything else, the weather's changing tomorrow here in Wales, so we're going to have a barbecue tonight. Last barbecue for a while, because it's probably going to be raining for a while. So go and enjoy yourselves. See you tomorrow.